to welcome you all here. It's so exciting to see so many fantastic colleagues, friends, supporters here. You know, especially to be a part of Queen's Rising, this first iteration of what I know will become some kind of regular, brilliant festival that brings us all together. Seems very fitting that we're able to host you. So thank you for letting us welcome you here today. Queens is rising. It never stopped rising. We've all been working together and being an amazing cultural borough throughout the last couple of years, but it does feel like a fitting moment to celebrate the diversity of culture that's here in Queens and across all of the different art forms, different scales of organisations. We're lucky to live in this exciting, brilliant, cultural hub in New York. So thank you for being here. Thank you for everything you do. My only job this morning was to say good morning and welcome and really to make sure that you, I know a few people have been here, told me that they hadn't been in the panorama, so nobody leaves who hasn't been in the panorama before going in the panorama, which is behind me, before you leave. Take a look at the city of New York. But it's my great pleasure and honor to turn over to Jeff Rosenstock, who's behind all of this. Jeff, we're so grateful to you for bringing this festival together. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's give another round of applause to Sally, her entire staff, for hosting us in this really amazing, beautiful venue that we should all be proud and honored to be here. I've got new glasses, so I got to take them off to read. So Sally mentioned my name is Jeff Rosenstock. I'm the AVP of External and Government Affairs at Queens College. I want to give a shout out to my boss, Frank Wu, who is a culture vulture. He's been to a lot of your organizations already. He's starting a School of the Arts, and you're all going to get an invitation tomorrow to come to our launch on May 5th. And he's also been really supportive of allowing me and our colleagues at Queens College to really work on Queens Rising. The music you heard, what was the common theme in that music? Queens artists, all Queens artists is what you've been listening to all day. So this Queens Rising initiative has been more than 2 years in the making, and I want to thank the members of our planning committee who met literally every 2 weeks to give birth to Queens Rising. And you can imagine there were many discussions as to what Queens Rising should be, could be, how it can best serve our borough, our artists, our arts organizations, and members of the public. We found common ground in determining that this June will be about amplifying the riches of our borough's culture and our cultural landscape, and equally to bring the cultural community together like we did today, so we can strengthen the arts in Queens and bring folks from Queens and throughout the city to gather together in our borough. Today, we're ready to launch the website and to begin to populate it with all of your events, literally hundreds of events that will take place in June. And next month and throughout the month of June, we'll do everything we can to promote all the activity and hopefully allow folks to discover new artists, new organizations, and new neighborhoods. Early on, we needed an affirmation of support, and first on our list was the Borough President of Queens, the Honorable Donovan Richards Jr. He pledged his support and became an enthusiastic advocate for what we aspire to achieve, a celebration of the richness of our diversity, our cultures, our neighborhoods, our economic impact as artists and arts organizations, and how the arts are the soul of Queens. He got it for sure. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Borough President of Queens, Donovan Richards Jr.
All righty, well, when Jeff tells you what to do, you just do it. But let's give a round of applause for Jeff. And of course, to Sally. Isn't this a beautiful institution right here? Queens Museums offers so much to Queens, and I'm all, very grateful for their partnership and all they've done, especially opening up this particular institution at the height of the pandemic to make sure that we had a food pantry, I think, operating out of here. And I'm so grateful for you and all that this museum has done, not only for culture, but also for the community. So let's give it up for the Queens Museum. And good morning, everyone. Is Queens in the house? All right, I know there are like 2 Brooklyn people here. But Queens is certainly on the rise. It's always great to be at the Queens Museum, a crown jewel of the world's borough, and a place I cannot recommend enough for anyone visiting Queens. And we look forward to obviously building out a new children's museum here, in which we work. It'll be the first children's museum in Queens. And it's especially great to be here today as we kick off Queens Rising, what promises to be an exciting month of fun for our families and everyone who wants to be a partner of the wonder in the world's borough. This initiative has been in the works for more than 2 years now, and I remember Jeff having this idea and the pandemic certainly hitting, but I want to thank you once again for your leadership, and I'm so grateful for all of our amazing partners who have tirelessly worked together to come up with a stellar cultural marketing campaign right here all about Queens. Over the next month, Queens Rising will shine a spotlight on the many cultural groups that call Queens home, organizations that help define who we are as a borough and enrich the lives of millions of families right here in the world's borough. From performances to art and beyond, there is something for everyone to enjoy, and all of it will help to tell the story of Queens, the most unique and diverse place on the planet Earth. But this story isn't one that's just going to tell itself. And the COVID-19 pandemic threatened the very existence of so many of our cultural groups in the room. Yet, even in the darkest of days during the pandemic, culture never closed in Queens. You never lost hope that we would emerge from the darkness with our cultural groups once again shining a light on what sets us apart as a borough. In fact, they were some of the first to show up for everyone else in need. Almost immediately, so many of our Queens cultural organizations and artists switched their operations to become food pantries, PPE distribution centers, emergency resource centers, and so much more at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. So many of them are still operating emergency community needs at the same time as they open up our hearts to art and wonder. Now it's our turn to return the favor and support our incredible organizations and local artists, and it's one of the reasons my office committed last fiscal year $11 million to cultural institutions across this borough. And it's one of the reasons we're going to commit millions more this fiscal year as well. And we have our chairman in the house. You're going to bring some money to Queens too? I know you're from Brooklyn. But I hope our friends, families, and neighbors across the country and world will join us in celebrating Queens Rising. This is only the beginning of a summer full of love and fun in Queens. So come see what we've got to offer and spend your money here while you're at it. We all have a part to play in making sure Queens truly rises out of this pandemic, and the solution lies right in this room with each and every one of you. God bless you. Congratulations, Jeff and all.
You know, I picked the short straw, which is why I'm emceeing today, but there's a planning committee that really made all the decisions, and I'll introduce them later on because it really was a communal effort. I just want everybody else in the planning committee has institutions to run. I don't, I oversee them, so that's why, but basically there really was an incredible effort. I'm just the face of that planning committee today. So, as Donovan mentioned, although he's a council member for the 36th district, representing Bedford-Stuyvesant and North Crown Heights, he agreed to join us today to celebrate the cultural vitality of our borough. It's a great honor to introduce to you the chair of the City Council's Committee of Cultural Affairs, Libraries, and International Intergroup Relations, Councilmember Ossé.
Wow, it is so great to be in the second best borough in the city. Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding. We're tied. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ossé. If you have difficulty pronouncing my name, I make the same corny joke every single time. Think of our national anthem, Ossé, can you chi? I am the council member for the 36th district, right in Bed-Stuy in Northern Crown Heights, and also blessed to be the chair on the Committee of Cultural Affairs, Libraries, and International Intergroup Relations. As we are moving into an economic recovery in this city, we have to make sure that our culturals are represented, advocated for, and properly funded by the city. Yeah. I know this isn't news to everyone in this room, but our cultural institutions, our cultural organizations account for 14% of our economic growth, and our cultural organizations, when coming to the response from our city funding, needs to represent that. So something that we are doing in the council, something that I'm nagging Madam Speaker about, something that I'm nagging our current mayor about, is to make sure that we have a baseline funding of 1% in the city budget. We sent a response back to the mayor calling for $50 million in addition to the CDF funding for both our cultural organizations as well as our cultural institutions, which is very exciting. But of course, I'm acknowledging the economic growth that is so important that our culturals are at the forefront of. But the two words that we're hearing often within this political zeitgeist right now is public safety. And you may be questioning or guessing, what does that have to do with our cultural organizations, our cultural institutions? Well, everything. You know, these past 2 years during this pandemic has taken a toll on all of us, not just our kids, but the psyche of New York City as a whole. And if there's something that I know as a child that grew up with arts education, grew up with the love of the cultural institutions of New York City, I know that if we're going to rebuild the city further than economic development, and to make the city safer, we need our cultural institutions, again, right at the forefront of that conversation. So again, I'm so happy to be in the borough of Queens. It's a very exciting morning for me to be here, and I know there's a saying, cash rules everything around me. Dollar, dollar bill, y'all, and that's what we're gonna do. Thank you for having me.
I also want to recognize two members of our Assembly and City Council who are with us today, Assembly Member Jessica Ramos and City Council Member Linda Lee. So thank you both for being here. And just as an FYI, yes? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my apologies. My apologies. And also on the committee from Queens are Council Member Ung and Francisco Moya, so we know who to lobby in Queens for cultural programs. As I shared, our planning committee kept working through the pandemic, and one thing we all realized is we must find funding to support Queens Rising. Financial support, lots of it. Enough support to fulfill our ambitious goal of amplifying all that our borough has to offer. Our search for a lead sponsor began with a very short list of organizations we felt would value what we aspired to achieve. And fortunately for us, the #1 organization on our list was the only one we had to approach to be lead sponsor. Though she's not here today, Lorraine Chambers Lewis, the CEO of LIJ Forest Hills, which is part of the Northwell Health, understood, and with the support of her colleagues at Northwell Health, secured the funding we needed to transform an idea into a reality. Representing LIJ Forest Hills and Lorraine today, please welcome Dr. Michael Goyfman, Chief of Cardiology at LIJ Forest Hills.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all here today as we celebrate Queens Rising. I'm Dr. Goyfman. I'm the Chief of Cardiology at Long Island Jewish Forest Hills Northwell Health Community Hospital, located on 66 Road, just about 2 miles from here. Now, as a cardiologist, my specialty is tending to matters of the heart, making sure it stays vibrant and healthy. And in a way, Queens Rising is also concerned with matters of the heart of our borough, and the rich array of culture and arts that makes Queens the most diverse place in the entire country. Now, for a time, the pandemic created obstacles and challenges to the heartbeat of our local creative communities and cultural institutions. And we felt those heartaches and hardships, as well as the hospital, because the majority of our healthcare staff live right here in Queens. I also live in Queens, and I think that's something that really holds us to a higher standard, because you never know if you might see a patient in the street or in the train. Once, I was getting my teeth cleaned, and the hygienist said, "Are you a cardiologist?" And I was thinking she could tell from my teeth, and it turns out that she said I took care of her father in the hospital, and she thanked me for it. So you really never know. But you know, hardships can help forge stronger bonds. And today, I'm here to say that the heartbeat of Queens is stronger than ever. Queens Rising is celebrating the resiliency of our local artists and cultural institutions as they recover from their economic losses. And Northwell Health and Long Island Jewish Forest Hills, thank you for letting us be part of Queens Rising as it embarks on the month-long celebration of the arts and culture of our borough.
For those of us who work in fundraising, we all know too well that very few people want to be the first to support a new endeavor. But there's got to be a first, or there won't be a second or a third, and so on. Fortunately, Planning Committee member Ellen Kodadak, who's the producer and artistic director of Flushing Town Hall, made a recommendation who we should solicit. We did. He made a commitment. And now let's welcome Seth Bornstein from Queens Economic Development Corporation.
Thank you, Jeff. And I just want to let people know it's not my personal money that was committed. It's money we received from government sources, from Walcott, Queens. 15 years ago, the idea of tourism in Queens was the buttline of a joke. You know, tourism in Queens, who would come here? Now it's a thing. 10 years ago, we hired in our office Rob Mackay. Rob, where are you? In the back there? And this is a true story. I said to Rob, "You're going to head up the Queens Tourism Council." He goes, "What is that?" And he goes, "You'll figure it out." And he really has. With the help and support, Erica in our office and our board and everybody else, we really are a thing. Queens is happening. Despite the last 2 years, so much is going to happen. And we were so excited when we found out about Queens Rising, be part of it and support it and help market it. So I look forward to working with all of you. And it's also great to see so many of you. It's like reunions after 2 years. I love that. So it's a great day. It's a great beginning. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you all the people that have made this happen. We're excited to be part of this. Thank you.
Glasses are killing me. Our next speaker represents one of the borough's one of Queens Rising's partner organizations, and one that has consistently provided its patrons with a rich array of cultural events and programs. He represents one of the nation's largest public library systems and has been at its helm for the past 6 years. It's an honor to call up Dennis Walcott, President and CEO of the Queens Library.
Thank you, Jeff, and good morning to all of you. It is a pleasure to Sally. It's great to be back in your institution. And little did I know that we'd be having this celebration during the dead of winter. It's spring outside. I am so confused. Is it spring? Is it winter? I just can't keep it straight. To all of you who are part of Queens Rising, I'm just here to say thank you very much. To Jen, who is here from the Queens Public Library, Nayeli, who used to be with the Queens Public Library, to all the founding partners of Queens Rising, we are glad to be a major part of it, and we are here to serve the public in so many ways. This coming Monday, April the 25th, we will be reopening the Flushing Library. So we will have more people coming through our doors to celebrate what's good about Queens. As some of you know, I was born and raised in Queens. I live in Queens. Queens is a major part of my lifeblood, and I look forward to anything that we do in Queens because Queens is always rising. We're always growing. We're becoming more diverse as we move forward in time. And this, to me, represents that opportunity. So again, my personal thanks to the founding members, but more importantly, to all the arts and cultural organizations who are here and not here. We are doing great things together because Queens is rising. Thank you very much.
And the beauty of Queens Rising is to embrace artists and organizations, large and small, from established and emerging, and we're all mutually committed to celebrating the richness of our borough. I can't think of a better person to call upon as our last speaker this morning than one of our planning committee members who founded the amazing Queensboro Dance Festival and just added to her title and portfolio last month, Mother of Maya. Please join me in welcoming Karesia Batan.
Hello. Oh, I'm too short for this. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, everybody. I just need to shout out, just because he blew me up. I just had a child 4 weeks ago, and I need to shout out all those mothers in arts and culturals that do this, because I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm so happy to be here. So moms out there, so much props and respect, because this is crazy. Anyway, so I founded the Queensboro Dance Festival. We're in our 9th season, and our mission is to strengthen the dance community in Queens and inspire a greater appreciation for Queens dance. So when I was brought on board on the planning committee to be part of Queens Rising, it resonated so strongly with me, because our mission at the core of our festival is to go in all the corners of Queens and try and find all of the small independent artists and small groups that maybe don't have nonprofit status, that maybe are always left off of the table for city and state funding. I need to shout out the dancers that I see here tonight that have been part of the festival. Mala, classical Indian dancer; Carla, Colombian dancer; Jackie, modern dancer. They're representing 3 different neighborhoods in Queens. They have been part of the festival for several years in the past, and this is what it's about. So Queens Rising, it's just been such an amazing program. We are so committed to being able to find all of those independent artists, and Rising is really about calling on the institutions, calling on the culturals that have been at the table, and to turn to the hyper-local artists and bring them up with all of the funding that the institutions do get. So this call is still out. Anybody that still needs to find, please help us find all the other artists in all the different disciplines, not just dance, visual arts, music, theater. Please let them know to join Queens Rising, because it is really about amplifying those smaller voices that we don't know yet. We know that they're all out there. We want to represent as many of the different cultures and languages that are here in Queens, and really represent a slice of what this borough has to offer, and put it on the map, not just citywide, but across the region and the state, because Queens is here. We've always been here. It's been here before I've been here, and it's time for everybody to pay attention to everything that's happening here. It's such a resilient borough. The artist community here is like none other. We work together like a community like none other. So, am I good now? Okay, great. So thank you so much for all of your support, and it's really nice to be here in the room with everybody. And Queens, get the money.
So just briefly, I'd love for the members we had working groups also, about 75 people, but the planning committee, which has met every 2 weeks, if you could each stand up for a second, and I'll introduce that are here. Leni Ellen, Greg, Courtney, Maria, Louise, Malini, Phil, John, and the two amazing people, Jennifer Sellers and Mike Baba, who are part-time coordinators. Everybody else has been volunteers on this. So in conclusion, we thank you for joining us today for the official launch of Queens Rising. Our website is live now, and it's ready for all of you to populate it with your events and your programs. Our marketing and PR teams are gearing up for major promotional campaigns to amplify all our borough has to offer its residents and visitors from around the metropolitan area. What you can do if you're an organization is become a cultural partner. We'll promote your programs and also ask you to help promote everything that's in Queens Rising. So we're all doing it together. Go to our website, www.queensrising.nyc, and there are promotional materials. We hope you take some of them to learn more. Speak to our planning committee members or our coordinators. We really want to ensure your organization is included, and the Queens Rising events can be found in every neighborhood of Queens. And finally, join us for the official opening event, which will take place on Saturday evening, June 4th, her idea. It'll be Queens Rising at the iconic night market, and we'll be providing a full evening of entertainment. John Wang is here from the night market, so it'll be Queens Rising at the night market. We hope you all will show up for that too. And my last few sentences is June's just 1 month, and we hope what you'll see in that 1 month, whether it's a concert at the Forest Hill Stadium or an exhibit or performance in Flushing or Jamaica or Long Island City, it's a beacon of all that Queens has to offer year-round. We hope Queens Rising will entice patrons from within our borough and throughout the area to explore Queens again and again. We also hope Queens Rising will provide opportunities for the cultural community of Queens, many of you here today, to meet each other, support each other, collaborate with each other, and strengthen the sense of community and pride that we share with Queens. I'm going to ask you one last thing. We're going to take one large group photo. I'm going to turn it over to Dominic Totino to organize it and see how he wants to do it. We thank everybody for being here today, and we look forward to working with you. Dominic.